Hello, welcome Whale family to another episode of Makersplace by Whale. I'm really excited for our guest today. She is one of the most renowned crypto artists in the space, and she's also a coach. And her VR Girl piece resides in our very own vault. This is Katy Arrington. I'm very honored to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very happy to be here.
So, I don't want to see my face big. So I just wanted to ask you, for anyone who might not be familiar with your work, could you tell us a little bit about your creative background and how you initially got into the crypto art space?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I went to school for video game art. So I was in the entertainment industry, and that's where I started. I love video games, and thought that was a great way to do art for a living. And then I was not happy with that path. And then I actually quit art for a period of time because of just not having a good time with it. Luckily, I found my way back and I started to just do my own work and really figure out what I wanted to create in my art. And so now I create digital illustrations that I think embody the things that I love, which is creepy, sexy, cute. That's my brand, I think.
Definitely see that. Let me pull some up. And so what was it like? You mentioned that you were working in the gaming industry, and I would guess that it's a kind of a boys' club there, and maybe as a woman it might have been even more trying, but I don't want to put words into your mouth. But what was that experience like?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate that in my first internship, my first job, we actually had, half girls, half boys. And so that really gave, it was at Disney Interactive, which I think does attract maybe more girls, maybe. So that was a great start. And then after, there was a lot more boys in my next job at Microsoft. However, I really felt respected at that job. I think I was also very lucky in the team that I was in, but my superiors, who were all men, in that team, just the next level superiors, always wanted to know my thoughts, was really respectful of the work that I did. I think if I was not happy in the industry, that was less about my experience with the people that I worked with and more about that I wasn't confident as an artist. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where my art was going. I was not happy with where it was going. And that's really ultimately what led me to quit that industry.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to hear it wasn't, because it sounds like it's evolving then. Yeah. And it's like, it was just a you problem. No, I'm just kidding. But no,
you're not wrong.
And how did you eventually get out of that space and find the crypto art world?
So when I got out of that space, I, was done with the game industry. I was kind of done with art, but then I found my way back just because I still had ideas that I wanted to create. And I remember kind of trying to split my time between digital art and traditional art, painting, physical painting and things like that. But that's not what I loved. What I loved was digital illustration the most, but I didn't know how to make money as a digital illustrator, right? I always thought that you needed to have a traditional piece in order to be able to make a good amount of money. But I decided, nope, I'm just gonna figure it out with the digital stuff, and really only did that. And I think because I was so specific with that and I really nurtured that, eventually I was lucky enough to get the attention of Makerspace, and they invited me to their platform. And I didn't know anything about NFTs at this point. I heard about Bitcoin, didn't really get it. So I was fortunate that Makerspace invited me, and I really got to learn about all of that through that.
So basically Makerspace found you through you already having popularity as a digital illustrator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
amazing.
Yeah. That's my guess. Yeah. I just had a budding Instagram, and I was getting more and more attention with the work I was doing. So yeah.
Mm. And you mentioned that you spent a long time kind of not making any art.
Yeah.
And I know that that's something that a lot of artists, myself included, can go through very long hiatuses.
Yeah.
So how did you get out of that and get back into art and feel that, inspiration to create again, or will?
Yeah. So I remember that, yeah, taking that hiatus, and I remember getting back into it because it's not like I can avoid art and seeing other people's art on Instagram, on anywhere. And anytime I saw somebody's work that I thought was really cool, it just gave me that desire to draw again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think after a year, I got back into it, but I could feel it happening again. Like I think I got back and was like working on it for, I don't know, 3 months or something, like kind of like getting my feet wet again. And I could feel the like all the pain and all the like stuff that didn't work out, I guess, like showing up again. And I could feel myself like wanting to quit again, wanting to avoid it again. But I was really, really fortunate that I found, resources or like a teacher really who really taught me about like mindset and how that really, really affects, how you do things, what you do, how you approach things, how good of a time you're having and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I really used all the work that I learned from that to like, I guess like reprogram my brain in a way, right? So that I could really just enjoy my art and just enjoy it for myself instead of really struggling with the confidence part of it.
Yeah. And how did you find, well, I guess not how did you, well, yeah. How did you eventually find your teacher and the support to work through that? Because I think, I feel like, there's therapy and then there's coaching and there's like a big distinction. And I've had the experience of both. And I feel like having worked with a coach, it really helps you be like action oriented. So, and I, in my own experience, like the way that I found my coach was very like kismet happenstance, and like I wasn't even looking for one, but so yeah, that was my question. Did you seek one out, or like how did you find that support? Because I think other artists
did not seek one out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just because I didn't
it's
know.
So interesting.
Yeah, I did not know that there were support in that way. I didn't know like that this was solvable in a way, right? I just thought like this is just the way I am. I'm just not meant to be an artist, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate. We're all very fortunate with like being able to connect with so many other people online. And like I was following this artist who is very open and like she really shares her stories and her mental health struggles. Like she shares all of that. And then she was the one that shared like a podcast episode, I think, on her stories. And that's how I discovered the teacher. I wasn't looking for her, but I think just because I was following similar people, right? Or I was following people who were authentic and shared their life honestly, I was able to find that resource.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I don't know if I would have been open to going to a coach if someone told me like, oh, go to this person.
Yeah.
But
I would have been like, what?
What do you mean a coach? Like, isn't that like, and then when you describe what a coach does, like some people are like, isn't that just what a good friend does? And you're like,
yeah. Or shouldn't you be able to do that on your own?
It's so different. And that was what I wanted to ask you about, because now you also do that. You have a podcast called My Art and Self-Improvement Podcast. And I listened to a couple episodes and I thought it was really awesome that you started doing it yourself. And I think there could be more artist coaches out there. It's
oh my God, yeah.
Because there's coaches out there that are not artists, and they I think can help an artist, but to actually have the perspective of somebody who goes through the same like crippling self-doubt moments and procrastination and like how do you balance, I guess, listening to your body and allowing yourself to, you know, I guess fall apart if you need to, but then how do you like get back together and take action and, you know, don't like, I guess, how do you not wallow in what's going on and kind of pull yourself out? Like, I guess you could, if you could tell us a little bit about like what it's like to work with you as a coach.
Yeah. So what it's like to work with me. So, I mean, every client is pretty different, right? So like, it depends on what they want to work on. Most people want to come for, you know, working around confidence, right? Like with their art. I like to say that like what I really help people do, artists do, is like to create their most recognizable work, create their most like iconic work. And that has a lot to do with like really, really deciding that like what you want to do as an artist is way more important, or it's more important than like what you think other people want to see from you. Right.
Yes.
And so in order to create that, it's kind of like having to let go of the thing that we really want, which is like all that validation as an artist and things like that. Right. So a lot of the work that we do is like, it's conversations about like, why isn't what you want the number one thing, right? Like, why isn't your opinion the number one thing? And just creating a lot of self-awareness around that, because as soon as you're really, really aware of like, why am I doing that? You're going to make a different decision, right?
Yeah.
Like, having that, like knowing yourself that well. And when you really see it, it's like, why am I doing that? I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do the thing that makes me feel free instead. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny that like, we just like get stuck in that trap of, you don't even realize that it's validation that you're looking for. Like, it's like sneaky, I guess, or, you know.
Oh yeah.
and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that was something outside of myself that I'm looking for, like for validation or to feel like good about what I'm doing. And also, I think it's interesting too, like what artists experience is also the fear of judgment, like not the fear of not getting the validation, but the fear of what other people think and not even realizing that you are concerned with that. And I think, you know, and it's really cool to hear you talk about your own experience, because I think it's important for young artists to see that kind of cycle, this kind of internal battle, is something that as you progress and, you know, create success for yourself as an artist, like those fears will still come up, but it's like it's just like a next level version of it. You just, that's why it's, I think, very important to have a coach or some kind of support with other artists where you can talk about it, so that you can see like, oh, it's not just me, like we're all just like working through some kind of like fear and doing it anyway.
For sure.
It's so much easier to have support in doing that, whether it's a one-on-one coach or like a mastermind group of artists. I'm like very bullish on support, like artists getting support.
Absolutely.
Like, so, and you're still actively doing, do you do one-on-ones or group work?
One-on-one. Yeah.
That's awesome.
One-on-one.
So yeah, any artists out there, if you are struggling, reach out to Katy. She can help you work through confidence and procrastination and things like that. It's really magical work to get support like that from a coach, especially one who's been through this kind of thing, you know? So
for sure.
And like actually speaking to like, you know, how you've developed confidence and developed practices so that you continue putting yourself out there anyway. There was a post on your Instagram, let me pull it up, that it just like gave me chills how you worded this. Hold on. It was a long post, but You said because the way I got to this level of success was to fuck everything and do whatever was the most fun for me, even if that means making no money. This led me to creating my most fuck you iconic art, which created a lot of fuck you money. And I mean, like, it's so true. It sounds counterintuitive, but could you talk a little bit about the experience of like flexing your trust muscle and like a little bit about how you did that? Because I think people, feeling the fear and doing it anyway is daunting. So like, what was that like for you?
Yeah. What that was like for me was like seeing, having that year where I just like stopped making art and really, really thinking that like I was done kind of thing. And having that experience as like, oh, like if I don't do something different, I'm going to quit art forever, right? Like I'm going to be done forever. And I'm never going to enjoy it. I'll never even have it for me. Like none of that. It was kind of like having the importance being that like I make art at all, right? Like even if there's no money, if there's no accolades, there's no trophy, there's no likes on Instagram. But the point is the actual treasure, the actual most important thing is that I am making art, right? Even if it looks like shit, even if everything kind of thing. And I think like, I think what really makes us different, right, as artists compared to like other vocations or whatever is that like, or maybe like same with like music and things like that. But it's like, it's the act of like having a vision in your head, right? Like you have this image, you have this idea, and then it's the act of like taking that idea and translating it, right, into like something that's going to happen that's created in the world. Like it's that process that makes us artists, right? It's not the final art. It's not the thing we create or produce. It's just being in that process. And then like, and how fun that is. That is so fun to take that idea that's completely like blah. It's just a blob in our head, right? And then like create it. Like that is the funnest part. The fun part is not the end. The fun part is not when it's done. The fun part, I'm getting heated because this is really this is what I love talking about. And so go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say that like that is the part that I didn't want to lose and I didn't want to miss out on. And like if the rest of my life I was working as a receptionist, but I got to be in that like, sorry, not that anything's wrong with reception, but you know what I mean? Like that was like I was doing that job, but I couldn't make a living with my art kind of thing, right? At least I got to be in the process of taking an idea and making it real, right? Even if I had nothing with it.
And I think also, I mean, the thing that I find personally difficult as an artist is that in that process is like getting, and I'm sure other artists have this too, it's like you get so stuck on trying to execute exactly what's in your mind. And then when you get it on paper, you're just like, oh, this is like not what I have up here and I can't do it. And then you get all into that too. And it's like, I think even more so than worrying about getting, the judgment from other people or, you know, is like our own judgment of like, am I doing it the way that, is it coming out how I intend? And like, like you said, the process itself of just translating that idea is what makes somebody an artist, and enjoying that process and letting go of that self-judgment, I think is like, that's a trip for for sure. And again, like having support has helped me tremendously with that kind of thing too. And also the whale community, and just being in that group alone, people are very supportive of each other's work, and and learn how to talk to each other in a way that's not like, oh, I love it, like it's like a deep way,
it's like
of like
sharing experiences.
Sharing the experience of it. It's not just like, oh, this is pretty, like, I don't know. I mean, we do say that too when things are great looking too, but still, I think that there's just some really nice, authentic exchanges happening within the whale community, within the NFT space on Twitter. People are just so mutually supportive, and I think that that's something that's unique about this space that didn't really happen in traditional art.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say it all the time, but I think it's so cool that artists that might use the same medium, or like 3D artists, will share work from other 3D artists and, you know, say, hey, look at my friend. Like, there's no competition. Like, being unique is what's celebrated here. So there's room for everybody to do. You could do the same thing, but it's not the same thing because it's that person doing it. And it's so nice to have that be recognized here. For sure.
For real.
So
yes.
Sorry we went on that tangent about that stuff, but I just think it's important for people to see the experience that you had with I'm gonna try not to say the F word because someone was like, oh my God, my kid's in the room.
Oh no.
Sorry, I have a tendency to curse. I'm from New York. I don't mean to. I was just quoting. It wasn't me.
It's my fault.
But I think letting artists see that side, because I think it's also it's taboo to talk about money too, but that's another thing that I think the NFT space has created, a new type of conversation around money. People are much more transparent about it. And you can see just the pattern is like other artists seeing other artists sell things for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. And you're like, wait, that's possible? Like, it just breaks your brain of the expectation of what's possible for a creator.
Yeah.
So
this space has been amazing. Like, no doubt.
Yeah. So I have more questions on myself, but let me just see if any of these questions make sense to ask now. Okay, these are more about like your actual art. So I'll segue into that. Let's talk about VR Girl before I wanted to get into
sure.
Your drop too, but let me see if I can find VR Girl. Probably not. I was curious, like, when you sold that, because that sold like 556 days ago or something. It was a long time ago,
like last year.
I was curious, like, were you aware of who Whale Shark was? Because this was before the whale community existed.
He or she, I'm pretty sure, because I think I listened to a podcast. But he was collecting my work before this this collab. So I knew of him, because he was buying my work.
That's awesome. And so did you ever speak with him, or you just
not
one on one collector? That's so cool.
Yeah. He just said nice tweets, so that was really nice.
That's so funny. And like now it's like, oh, this is in the whale vault and part of this like whole thing. So the questions that we have from the group were, Eliskava asks, how did you find your style, and what are your influences, and what do you do to seek future inspiration?
Okay. How I found my style, I asked myself, there's a few things. First thing was that I really like went on this journey of really getting to know myself and like getting to know what I like, what I don't like. And I really, really paid attention to my body. Whenever there was something in the world that I really liked, and I just had this like feeling reaction kind of immediately. And that's when I knew like, oh, this is something I really love. Like, this is not just something like that, like, oh, it's kind of cool or whatever, right? But no, it's like, this created like an emotional response in me. So I'm like, what is it about this thing that I like? What is interesting? Why am I drawn to it? And so I like really find out what are the things that fascinate me, right, through that. And this took time. Like, I was really like taking the time to like notice my body and things like that. And then the other thing was I also asked myself some really, really like I ask myself questions like, if I could design my own universe or like my very own Wonderland, right? Like Alice in Wonderland. Like
Yeah.
if you could go into like this Wonderland type place, but it's your very own Wonderland, like what would you include, right? What would you create? Like what would be in there? And let's say you can only have not more than 10 things, right? Like, because
Wow.
I like to think about it like, do people know Marie Kondo? Like how she's
Yes.
all about like, yes, okay. Like for people who don't know, she has this technique. She's a home organizer or a home cleaner, but she has this technique where like she wants to get rid of everyone's stuff, but except like if you pick it up and you feel this thing and it's like, does this thing bring joy? Right. And if it does, you keep it. If it doesn't, you throw it away. And so I really use that like with my ideas, I guess, or like not my ideas, the things that I would include in this universe, right? It's like, it has to really bring joy for me to have it in my Wonderland. And maybe another question was something like, what were some of the things that I really, really loved as a kid before I started to learn to judge myself for liking those things, right? Yeah. So that's how I think I found my style. And the other thing that I did, like along with all this work of like thinking about like what I like and things like that, and then I would then like practice including it in my art. And then I would see like, is my art creating the same like emotional response for me as it did when I just saw it right in the world. So it was like an iteration of like, yeah, that's closer. No, that's not getting closer. That was actually not, I was not into that. And then until my work, I think, in my opinion, is quite like me. Like I can really feel like that my work is me, and pretty unique. Yes. I hope that answered the question.
I think that was
there's
a great answer. Yeah, there's a lot. Cool. There's a lot, and I had some too.
Yes.
But I do want to say, like, thank you for articulating that. I think that was really a practical exercise that artists can do for themselves. And it's super easy too.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. So Rune asks, another follow-up question from Iliscavia is, are there specific elements from your background or history that informs your work? If so, why?
That's a good question.
Iliscavia has good questions.
It feels like there could be some psychology to why I love the things that I love. That has to do. I mean, of course, I'm sure, right? I'm really sure that my background in history does like inform my work. I'm not really sure how, but if I were to take a guess, this is just the answer that came up for me, but like I grew up very, very shy, like very shy. I know, like, I think my dad was quite shy, all that kind of stuff. And so my art was kind of like a way for me to be as loud as I wanted before I was ready to be loud, like in the real world. So I got to be as bold and bright and like paint all these like, you know, really like confident, cool looking characters. That would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, and they really shine too. Like, I do look at the women in these pictures and like they make me feel like 1,000 feet tall, you know? Like, which I love. Yeah.
That's what I aspire. Yeah. Awesome. I draw the thing I aspire to be.
Yes. That's awesome. And so I guess a follow-up question to that is, Rune said you look like you create art around different subjects. What is your favorite thing to create? People, animals, fantasy, or all of the above?
I think like females, like painting females are definitely my, like, women are my favorite thing to paint. And I like to add some kind of fantasy element to it, like not like elf ears, but I mean like some like whimsy, some surrealism to it. That's what I love doing.
Yeah, I totally see that. And Simple Pixel Life is asking, the feeling of success is priceless, either in art or your work. It could be anything. If people like it, that's the best feeling. When did you find that feeling?
Of
when did you
feeling
find the
really
feeling of success? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, in my art, it sounds like, especially.
I mean, the word success is like different. Like, I'm wondering what they think success is versus what your feeling of success is. But yeah,
I guess
when did you know you felt it?
Yeah, really, really felt like, okay, my art is a success. So I think I was really practicing that feeling of like my art is a success when I came back to art, learned about mindset, learned about how I can practice that feeling ahead of time instead of waiting to feel successful, right?
Yeah.
Like after I've gotten validation and things like that. And I did that by, like practicing making my own work and seeing that as successful, right? I did that. And I think that it was a while of practicing that. And it was kind of like, I remember I was continuing, like I said about like how do you find a style. I was really doing that exercise over and over again, right? Like getting to know myself, making art from what I found, getting to know myself, right? Like continuously. And then I was doing that until like I got to a point where I was making art that I thought were really weird. Like I was like, oh man, this is like people are really not gonna like this. Like I just have this idea, whatever, like I'm just gonna do it, right? And I just had this like sureness that no one was gonna like it, but I was practicing feeling that success anyway, right? Like this is the art I want to make, all this kind of stuff. And then I didn't understand why, but my phone was blowing up, and it turns out it was because like it was actually my most successful work on Instagram or online, and it was kind of like it's not that I needed the validation, but it confirmed it, right? It confirmed my own practice of success, and that's when like it really like stayed pretty solid in me. So my advice there is about like practicing it yourself and then keep doing it, right? Don't wait for that validation, and then like you'll never know when you get that kind of like rush, right, of people like really loving your work or whatever. And it'll just be confirmation, but you won't feel like you need it,
Yeah, exactly. It's not that you're seeking that people will like it, but just when you do that magical like letting go of the expectation, then once the fact that was the most successful, got the most likes and people responded to it when you were like, I don't even care. I just like, people are going to think it's weird, but I don't care. That's just the confirmation. There's people badgering me in chat asking if there's vodka in my glass. For anyone that nobody was here in the beginning of this chat, but we were joking that we would do shots of vodka.
Take a shot.
Somebody who wasn't there is like, hey, is that vodka in the glass? No, it's not. It's 9:30 in the morning and I have not eaten yet. So maybe if it was 9:30 at night. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I think that was a great answer to that question. Is you have to just not, you have to give adequate amount of I'll try not to say the F word because I know there's kids there. You have to give adequate amount of F's, like not too much, not too little. So actually I'll pull up your art as Justin is asking this question. He said the style is similar, but I feel there's a big difference in emotion and feeling behind Katy's previous work and the new drop. Is there something behind the transition in her latest drop from her previous work? So let me pull that up. So this drop is called Magic Happy Place of Joy, which I love the name. And I will let you tell us about it.
Sure. Yeah. Justin is correct. There is a not a transition, but like there's a different aspect or another side to this collection. I think this is like my most vulnerable collection. Everything, I feel like a lot of things that I did in the past, like before this collection, was more like, oh, I just like this stuff. This is self-indulgent, which, I love, like, I'm just having fun kind of thing. And this was super fun too, but I really use this collection as like a reflection of the time in my life, like before I quit art, where I was really kind of struggling with myself and my, sense of like confidence. And essentially that was there was times in my life before, in that before I quit art, where from the outside, you would really think that like I had the things that would make somebody happy. I had, security. I had like just all the things, right? Everything that you consider like, oh yeah, this is what it would take for somebody to be happy. And I was far from it. I was not saying all the time, but like I was, those things clearly didn't, right? And it was really, really fun to create this collection. And pretty much it's the only collection so far that I have that really has that kind of like personalness to it. Like a story to it, like a meaning to it. Like a bit of that backstory.
Yeah. I mean, I think your previous work too, like, it's not that it doesn't have meaning, like that does create like a sense of like joy and confidence and excitement. And I think that these also speak to something that like all of us experience. You can have like, I'm thinking of this song by, what's that band name? They Might Be Giants. He says, rows of dandelions growing all around me. Why must I be sad?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So yeah, it's I mean, these pieces are really beautiful. And I think, just the expression on their faces, it's like they're not really present for the good things that are going on for whatever reason. I just think these are really beautifully executed for that mood. Yeah. Did you want to talk about a little bit just the mechanics behind the drops? Like, I think you've got 3 one-of-ones, or
no, I have one. I have one of one, and then I have 2 that are like 10. They're an edition of 10. Yeah. And then I have one that is also an edition of 10. However, if you are a collector of mine, it's a $1 raffle.
This piece.
That one's the $1 raffle. And then the last one is, it's an open edition. So pretty much people have 15 minutes to buy that piece. And then at the end of the 15 minutes, that decides like what the editions are.
Yeah.
The number of editions.
It's beautiful. And so that's in 8 hours, 49 minutes, and 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Everybody. I'm really excited. These are gorgeous.
Thank you.
We still have some more questions from Stream Text if you'd like to take them. Dynamo asks, in which ways do you try and stretch yourself as an artist? The ways that take you out of your comfort zone and force you to grow, if any?
So I have my own philosophy around like, improving your art and like stretching your art and like pushing yourself as an artist. Like I don't really like, let's say, do studies or like do things for the sake of improving my art. I really let my ideas decide where my growth is. So like if I have this idea for like an animation project and I don't know anything about animation, but I have this idea and I'm excited about this idea and I want to, create this idea, then I will like use the idea as kind of like the direction of where my art is going to grow. Right. So it's always about the idea for me. And like, I have lots of ideas of things that I want to do. And like, that's what's going to teach me, I guess. Right. It's pretty much the philosophy is like, improving yourself as an artist is always in service of the idea.
Yeah. And being in service of the idea is actually allowing it to get out, even if it doesn't come out as you expect. I think that's also
Yes,
difficult one for some of us. Yeah. Rune asks, how long does it take you to complete a piece on average? I guess
on
we can
average
ask about this last collection.
Sure. Okay, so with this, on average, I would give my paintings 8 hours. That's around like how long it takes to like complete a piece. You know, often it goes over, often it also goes under. It's around like the 6 to 10, 12 hour range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Javier was asking, what have been your biggest inspirations?
Yeah. My biggest inspirations would be like kawaii, and then internet thoughts, and then and then like I guess certain artists and illustrators that I really follow, that I really love. Yeah, especially the ones with bright colors, with super surrealism and whimsy. Like I'm obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. I love Alice in Wonderland. I love the whimsy of it. Yeah. And the art and the idea of being able to escape to a Wonderland. Yeah, I love that.
I want to go back to there's a piece you have on Makersplace that I had it up before, and I have 80,000 tabs. So, but it was inspired by Alice in Wonderland, and I actually was curious about. I know that it was done for a like a charity event.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. It's just taking a second to pull it up. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It's a charity called Water. And oh God, I feel bad if I forgot it. But point is it's a charity about like giving water to, villages or just communities that don't have access to fresh water easily. And I wanted to just create like a hype for people to donate. And if I can think of something to connect to Alice, then I will figure out a way. And so this was kind of the theme, I love the scene where Alice is like not drowning, but she's like swimming in all this water. Yeah. And there's all these like, she's on like a little glass, right? I had a good time with this.
Yeah. I love Alice in Wonderland. It's just like endless inspiration from that book. You can
oh my God.
extrapolate and it's just really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a question or a comment, but I think it's a cool insight. Donamo was saying, if you're producing art for yourself, then you can express it any way you want. But for a client, you could still maintain some integrity in your brief, as the work will still have your signature style through it to a degree, depending on what you're doing. Someone was asking, so that was a follow-up to someone asking, isn't art an expression of yourself? If the intent is to please others, how can you show integrity to your own style? So I think that's just like an interesting thought. Like if you're worrying about what other people think, then you might not have integrity with keeping with your own style or your own, way of doing things.
For sure. And I think like when we're out of that integrity, I don't think we're like, oh, I'm out of integrity right now. Like, I think it comes in like as this, like, why don't I like my art? Yeah. You just feel shitty and you don't like looking at it and you're like, you just feel bad. Right. And then it leads you to, giving up, quitting, not having a good time, avoiding the places you would share your work, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that following the pleasure in art and in life is like, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, like, I think that's the way to find, the most joy. It's like not, if you find yourself meeting like way too much resistance, it's just like time to reevaluate what you're doing. And it's like,
it's not fun.
No. And like, I think we also have been conditioned to think that like life is supposed to be so hard. And like, if anything's worth it, like, they'll say like, well, it's worth it if it's, or like anything that's worth it is going to be hard work. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have people that are making billions of dollars doing none of the labor. So
No, yeah. Yeah. And you can't work harder to make that much money.
no,
You know?
no.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I think it would be helpful, not just for artists to internalize, but everybody to internalize that, because we make things difficult for ourselves because we're conditioned to believe that that's how it's supposed to be. And yeah, I think that this whole world is kind of the world of NFTs is breaking that idea for artists and in real time, which I think is super cool.
For sure. Yeah. Like the technology breaks that. And also the idea of like, when you are pleasing yourself and making what you want to make, and you're creating your work that is the most recognizable for you, it's so easy to sell because it's the most unique, right? It's the most like you kind of thing. And then you don't have to work harder.
No, you just have to keep making stuff and just tell people that you exist, like, and find your people for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for artists that are just starting out in the NFT space?
In the NFT space, so specifically around, in relation to the space, I would say find your most trusted, because I feel like everyone kind of knows one person who's obsessed with the crypto space in their life. And it's like, go to that person and like milk all the information you can out of them. Make them like help you understand how this space works and how NFTs work and why people are willing to pay money for these things. That's my start, I think, is like, because the sooner you kind of understand even just like the concept or the basics, the sooner you like really believe in it, right? And you're like, oh yeah, okay, shit, I want to be part of this. This is so cool. I think the biggest thing that my friends who are interested are just like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get why isn't it just a JPEG, or isn't it just like, that's what makes them like not be like, oh, wait a second, what? I need to get in there now, you know?
Yeah. When I asked the question, I noticed that you were like, specifically in the NFT space, like, is there another piece of advice that you would give that's like just to artists in general, not related specifically to NFTs?
So just to artists in general, I guess it depends, because like, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do with your art, but I'm assuming if you're an artist who wants to make money just from your own art, right? Like, and not work with clients as much, like, you know, pretty much sell the work that you would do for fun.
Like no commission stress.
Not a lot of commission, or if it's a commission, it's one that you would do for free, right? Kind of thing, because it's so fun. But you get paid for it. My advice would be really like to artists who feel like they're needing to make artwork that is sellable or whatever, right? Like, my one advice is to really like only make the art that you would want to get paid to do, right? Like, so don't be drawing cars if that's not something you're interested in to be paid for, right? Kind of thing.
Right.
Like, you want to become an expert at what you do, whatever it is that you do. Like, even if you, like, for example, I feel like in arts, you know, a lot of people paint females, right? Paint women. A lot of people paint women, but nobody will paint women the way you do. So the sooner you become an expert at painting women the way you paint women, like, keep doing that. Because I know a lot of artists like feel like, oh, I can't be a one-trick pony. I can't, like, I gotta like show range and stuff. It's like, no, draw what you want and keep drawing that until you're like, oh, you really do it in a way that like only you do it. Right. That would be my advice.
That's great advice. Because even a lot of artists ask Whale Shark as a collector, like, how does he, select an artist? And he always talks about like having recognizable style. But what you just said there, I think, is helpful again with developing a regular style. It's like, just keep drawing the subjects that you really enjoy drawing, and you're going to find your style over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was super helpful. Justin was asking, he said, I know you're not supposed to have an answer, just like asking a parent which of their kids are their favorite, but which is your favorite piece that you've made, or what you might be most proud of?
Okay.
I wonder if I can even pull it up.
I mean, I think I'm the most proud with the Have What You Want. In this current collection.
Yes, yeah. I love this one.
Have everything you want.
If you're at work, hide your screen for a second. I'm pulling it up for a minute. Yes. I love
that.
This one
I
too.
think is one of my favorite works. Like just the purple on her lips, like, you know, matching or like, cohesive with the purple on the rainbow. Like I'm like, oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah. I love the composition. I love the colors, and I love the feeling of it. It's just exactly, you know, like I said before, like rows of dandelions growing all around me. Like, why must I be sad? But it's still such a beautiful image. I love it.
And like, I think it's my favorite because when I was making these pieces, like multiple times, I was like, should I really be releasing this? Like, isn't this a little gory? Isn't this kind of like, off-putting and things like that? But you know, I wanted to do it anyway. And I think that also is like, that to me is a sign of like, oh, this is really like something that like, it feels very me, right? It feels very like, this is really coming from the depths kind of thing. Which maybe says a lot about me. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it's important, you know, as an artist, like to put out the stuff that might feel scary to put out there, because you never know who it's speaking to, who it's helping to feel understood. Like, you know, but I see it and I feel very understood. And I think that that's something that you can't like put a value. There's no like price on that, to have like another human feel, oh, I understand. Like I've been there.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, and that it's like expressed in this, it's distilled in this like beautiful one single image is, it's just cool. Art is awesome. I know that's
art is awesome.
It's like,
it's fun.
Yeah. Art and music, I think, are just like the real languages of, you know, like I can look at this and we could speak different languages, but I would understand what's happening here, you know? And, I don't know, that's the coolest thing about it. And like, I think for an artist, it's like really scary to be authentic too, and like show the darker emotions, especially when like you've been known for having some more pieces that I guess are a little more, you know, like carefree seeming. But I think, I mean, like that's life. But sometimes you feel carefree, sometimes you don't, and I think it's. I'm really glad that you're showing this other side of yourself in this new drop. I'm loving these pieces. So
me too.
I'm gonna have to get my clicky thing ready in 8 or 9 hours.
Thank you.
So is there anything else, like what's coming up next for you, Katy, after this drop?
Oh man, I have like a lot of ideas of what's next. One idea that I cannot get out of my head is doing little vinyl toys, which is like outside. Well, no, it's not, because I would love to figure out some way of like creating toys, and then you can get like a, you know, an NFT of it as well, right? Like a 3D version or something like that. But yeah, that's the thing that's like really on my mind, is I want to figure that out, of like,
oh my gosh,
my little characters.
Yes, because I would love them. I just got so like excited thinking about like just imagining how they would look, and like, oh my god, I know people would be, I know I'd be into that. I would definitely want that. And it is possible. Awesome. I'm trying to remember the name of the artist. It was James. Oh my god, he's like a really great artist that did a lot of like 80s kind of new, that like vaporwave kind of style. James White, he did that with some figurines, so I know it's possible.
Oh, sick.
We interviewed him. So, and Drippies, cool. Mongoose says Drippies is doing a physical line if she needs a contact. Oh
my God, yes please.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right. We will talk about
and
that.
then we'll see what other illustrations are next. Yeah, I'm excited too.
Right. Well, I'm going to share your links again in our stream text. You can search Katy Arrington on Makersplace if you're watching on the replay, and we'll share it in the YouTube description as well when we post it.
Cool.
But yeah, so thank you so much, Katy. It's been so good getting to know you, and I'm really excited about this drop for you. Good luck tomorrow or in 8 hours, so that I'm sure you don't need it.
Yeah.
And yeah, wishing everybody a magical day. And
thank you for coming, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.